Alright guys, BLM here, back with a new video. In this video, I'll be doing a new casting video, and I'll be casting Survivor Reality Showdown. Now, if you don't know what Reality Showdown was, it was a casting twist done on The Amazing Race, where they brought teams from Survivor, Big Brother, and The Amazing Race to race on one season. And essentially what Reality Showdown for Survivor would be 3 tribes, one filled with former Survivor players, one filled with former Big Brother players, and one filled with former Amazing Race players. Because of that format, we are going to have 3 tribes here, 3 tribes of 6. I thought about doing 3 tribes of 7, but I feel like if I were to guess, that's something that production would want to avoid. Now, normally in my Survivor casting videos, I would go through all the players of Survivor, Big Brother, Amazing Race, whatever, in the order of the seasons. I'm not going to do that here. That's way too much work. But we will be going through series by series, and I think it'll be fun just to start off with Survivor. So, essentially, my philosophy of Survivor with the players I picked here is I didn't want there to be all-time great players. Now, if we're looking at the Amazing Race, what happened there on the Reality Showdown is that the Amazing Race All-Star teams that they picked were all very strong teams, and those teams completely dominated the race. They all made it towards the end game, and with the exception of one, and the final 3 were all Amazing Race teams. So I want to try to avoid that here with Survivor by casting kind of more okay players. Like, no one like actively bad at the game, but still all-star worthy players. But I didn't want to pick like the best of the best, so because of that, no winners are going to be here at all. Well, Adam Klein, to be honest, is probably a good pick for a cast like this. I still decided to leave him off just due to the simple fact of no winners. Run through some other people that didn't make the cut. I really considered Colby, but there's no room for him and Jerry on this cast, especially on a 6-person tribe. I wanted to try to reduce the number of previous relationships as possible across all these tribes. So because I didn't want both Colby and Jerry, I just decided not to put either of them. I considered Terry Dietz, as I always do, but he didn't make the cut just due to some balancing issues between the tribes. Because again, I tried to balance them based on physical strength and that sort of stuff as well. So I kind of tried to draw like parallels between players from each of the tribes, and because that Terry Dietz just didn't make the cut, I considered Coach. Coach would have been great. Again, just simply didn't make the cut. Again, there could only be 3 guys on this cast. Considered Jay. Jay was someone that I actually thought was going to make the cut, but he got bumped out for someone else. Dominic was someone that I just felt like was too strong of a player to put on the list. I had Michael on I literally had Michael on the cast for a good chunk of it, but he got taken out due to, again, some balancing issues. I considered Stephanie Grossa. She just didn't make the cut. Considered Elaine. She didn't make a cut. I considered Sri too good of a player, so she didn't make the cut either. So let's just get into the actual people that made the cut. So again, 6 people, 3 men, 3 women. Starting off with the men, I decided to put Rupert on. And I think people will disagree with wanting to see Rupert on Survivor again. I think it would be fascinating to see Rupert play the modern game of Survivor. I think he'll be completely lost. But I think mixing that in with this being a reality showdown season, I think a season where you want people that represent Survivor on the Survivor tribe, I feel like Rupert is one of the most iconic figures in Survivor, and obviously you're not going to get a Boston Rob, Parvati, Sandra. They don't want like Russell Hantz or Johnny Fairplay. So I think Rupert is the best option there, or at least him and the next person we'll be talking about. But I also feel like Rupert's just a really fun character. I know people get annoyed by him nowadays, but I love Rupert as a character. I loved him on The Amazing Race. That was just so incredible, his 2-episode arc there. And I do think it's a shame that he went out first on Blood vs. Water, but I would like to see him back for a season. I feel like a season like this, one where you don't want the strongest players in the world, I feel like this is probably a good fit for him. I also put Ozzy on the cast, and this was tough because like there was a point where I never wanted to see Ozzy ever again. I thought after South Pacific, I thought he was done. I thought that concluded his storyline really well. But then he comes back for Game Changers, and he has like a really mediocre performance there. But I remember when listening to his interview with RHAP, I mean, he came off as really grounded in that, and I actually really liked how he talked about the game, even though, I mean, obviously he does take things more personally than most people and thinks about the physicality of the game more than most people. But I mean, I enjoyed how he talked about the game there, and through that, I wouldn't mind seeing him again. I feel like, again, Reality Showdown, you don't want the strongest players in the world. You probably want some more iconic players of Survivor on the Survivor tribe. I feel like Ozzy's kind of a perfect fit for that. Though again, there was a debate for me between Ozzy and Malcolm. I just felt like Ozzy was the worst player, so he made the list. And the last guy that I end up picking, I think this one's kind of obvious. This guy's a lock for the next All-Star season whenever they do it, and that is Rick Devens. I think it's so clear that Rick Devens is one of the most likely returnees at this point. Rick Devens is a fan favorite, and then also mixing that in with the fact that, I mean, to be honest, he's not the greatest player. He definitely has a lot of game ability. He's obviously very good at finding idols. He was pretty good at challenges, surprisingly. So, I mean, he is a competent player, someone that would have won his season if he got to the end, but he's not really like a dominant player, not someone that can just steamroll over the Big Brother and Amazing Race players. So for me, I felt comfortable putting Rick Devens on the cast. And now for the women, and for me, these were pretty easy. I mean, I thought these three were the three that I had to go with. So first off, from Worlds Apart, I have Carolyn. Carolyn is someone that they've been wanting back for a while now. She barely missed the cut for both Second Chance and Game Changers. Now, could she miss the cut for another season? Probably. But Jeff Probst did say that Carolyn will definitely be on the next All-Star season. So it's like, why not? We'll put Carolyn here. I think Carolyn would be a lot of fun. Again, not too big of a player to where she would steamroll these other players, but I think a pretty good one and one that I would like to see back. So I put Carolyn on here. Also, I put Angelina. Now, obviously, Angelina just had a kid, but it's like, I decided to take all of the real life circumstances like that out of it because I'm not making this video as if it's a season that's going to happen right away. I mean, for me, I'm kind of thinking of this being years down the road where these sort of circumstances will be different. So I'm not going to be that hung up on like people being busy right now. So Angelina, again, I think is a lock for a return at some point. I mean, she was loved by production. I mean, she's a great character. Again, not too good of a player to where I wouldn't want to put her on this cast. So Angelina, for me, had to make the cut there. And the last person I put was Nora. Yeah, another fantastic character. Probably the best character to come from Survivor in a while. Especially when you're looking at people that are like strictly just characters, not really good players. But again, she's not a good player. So again, I feel comfortable putting on this group. And also she's a very strong, athletic female. And I needed that to kind of balance out some of the other tribes. So for me, Nora made the cut here. That's it for the Survivor tribe. Now let's move on to Big Brother. And for Big Brother here, I will admit, I think I may have made a bit too many leaps here. I mean, this is a tribe full of legends, but I do feel like at least if they were to do a season right now, I wouldn't be that surprised if some of these people were to say yes. But first off, let's go through some honorable mentions. I did think about Jace, who even stated on Big Brother that he should have been on Survivor instead. But again, for me, he just didn't make the cut. I considered Jeff Schroeder, and Jeff Schroeder was on the cast up until the last second. Because you know for sure CBS is wanting Jeff Schroeder on Survivor. I'm sure that's something they would push for. But I decided to leave him off somewhat for archetype reasons. As tribe strength wise, I think that he would have made this tribe too strong. So I decided to leave Jeff off the cast. I considered Frank. I feel like Frank's done reality TV though, so I didn't put him on. I considered Johnny Mac. Johnny Mac would have been fun. Didn't put him on. I considered Paul, and I considered Victor. Victor actually almost made the cut. Again, Victor was another one that was on the cast for a while. But I just decided I think he's too strong of a competitor. That and also, I mean, there's probably a couple other people I'd rather see than him. Though personally, I wouldn't mind seeing Victor on Survivor, though. I considered Ovi. Ovi simply didn't make the cut. And then when it came to the women, there weren't that many other considerations for me. I had 3 pretty locked picks for me. But the other ones I did consider, I mean, Danielle Reyes would have been fun. Danielle Donato could have been fun. Brittany was very close to making it on. The problem is just too many connections. And I also considered Caitlin Herman, just because, again, it's clear that CBS likes Caitlin Herman, but she didn't make the cut for me. But let's talk about the people that made my cut. And let's actually start off with the women here, because I feel like there's more to talk about with the men. So from the women here, the first person I put on was Janelle. I think, again, Janelle, someone that CBS clearly loves, a fan favorite of Big Brother, someone that would be fun to see on Survivor. She watches Survivor. She tweets about Survivor. I think she'd be really fun to have on Survivor, so why not put Janelle on? And the next one's probably the biggest lock on the board for me for this season. Like, I think she's almost a guarantee if they were to do a season like this, and that's Rachel Riley. Now, obviously, if they were to do this season right now, she wouldn't be able to do it, but down the road, I think Rachel Riley's a lock. And she's been on Big Brother twice, been on The Amazing Race 3 times. It's very clear CBS loves her. She's openly talked about wanting to play Survivor, so why not? Put her on Survivor. It'll be fun. And it also would make Janelle and Rachel the first people to play all 3 of Survivor, Big Brother, and The Amazing Race. So that'll be interesting as well. And the last woman that I put on the cast was Devon. Devon was actually someone that was in the casting for Survivor at one point. And again, it's very clear CBS loves her. If they were to do a season like this, a reality showdown season, why not have Devon there? Again, they've already met her. They know her. I think she would be a lot of fun. I think archetype-wise, there isn't really someone like Devon on the cast anyway, so it's like I think Devon is a pretty good pick here. And then we got the men, and this is where I'm saying there might be a few stretches here. I mean, first two that we're going to be talking about have said that openly that they wouldn't mind playing Survivor. I don't know if this would actually ever become a reality, but it would be amazing. So the first player that I put on here is Dan Giesling. And Dan Giesling is someone that, I mean, I know he watched some Survivor stuff on his Twitch streams, and he got back into Survivor for Winners at War, was tweeting about it. He talked about how he actually is interested in playing Survivor at this point. So, I mean, why not put Dan on the cast? I mean, Dan would be incredible on Survivor. Do I think he would do well? I don't know. I don't know if his skills would translate onto the island, but it would be so much fun to watch. I mean, to have a reality showdown season where you could potentially have Dan on there would just be incredible. So he made my cut. And the other one was another sort of similar situation where I've been talking and tweeting about Survivor a lot, talked about wanting to be on it, and that is Derek. And again, like, I mean, I don't know if this seems too far-fetched to have both Dan and Derek on a 6-person tribe on Survivor, but it's like they both talked about wanting to do Survivor, so it's like, why not? I mean, I think Derek would be a lot of fun. To be honest, I even considered not putting Derek on just because I did think that was so far-fetched. That's why, like, originally, like, Jeff or Victor were on the cast beforehand, but I think when I thought about it more, I was like, no, screw it. I think we gotta have Derek. I think Derek would be a lot of fun on Survivor to see if his style of gameplay translates. I mean, obviously, he plays a very Boston Rob-esque game, a very dominant game, uses subtle manipulation to keep his people in line. I think it'll be really interesting to see if we can do that on Survivor and also see him interact with Dan on the island. It would just be so much fun, so I had to put him on. And the last guy for me on the cast, this one was more of a no-brainer. I think this one was pretty easy, and that was Tyler from BB20, Tyler Crispin. Again, no doubt for me that he would be on a season like this. I mean, CBS clearly loves him. I think the only thing that would stop him from being on a season like this would be Big Brother wanting to save him for themselves. Like, I could see that possibly being a scenario of Big Brother production being like, no, we want to use Tyler for next season of Big Brother. But outside of that, I feel like he's exactly the type of guy that production would like on a season. Again, kind of this surfer guy, but a really intelligent surfer guy, kind of like in the vein of like a Devin Pinto, I think is kind of what Tyler would be on Survivor. I think that would be a lot of fun. So he made my cut. Now moving on to The Amazing Race, and I will fully say The Amazing Race was the tough one for me. I feel like with The Amazing Race, it's very tough to gauge people as individuals because so much of the show is seeing these pairs interact. It's very tough to distinguish how entertaining a person would be on their own, and sometimes it's even tough for me to even distinguish who is who on these teams. But I did make a cast. To be honest, I don't know how happy I am with this group of 6. I do think there are a few spots that could be switched out, but we'll talk about it. So from the honorable mentions here, I did consider Blake from The Amazing Race Season 2, just because he was someone that applied for Survivor initially. So I at least considered him. He didn't make the cut, but it would have been interesting. I did consider JJ from Art and JJ, because I do feel like JJ kind of gets a bad rap in terms of him as a character. I mean, I know people find him annoying, and they don't like how indignant they were on Season 20, but I think he's fascinating TV. And obviously Art is probably not in the right health to be playing Survivor, but I think JJ seemed fine on The Amazing Race 31, so I think it'll be interesting to see them play, but again, didn't make the cut for me. I considered James from James and James from Season 21. I'm talking about James with a Y, but either way, he didn't make the cut for me. I considered Leo and Jamal, both of them. The problem with them is that there's already so many people from Season 31 on this cast. And also, I think a bigger issue is I find it so tough to distinguish which one to put on. I feel like both of them are really fun characters, so I kind of feel weird just putting one of them on the cast. I did consider Nat and Kat. Obviously, they're doctors. They're very intelligent. I just don't really see them being on Survivor. And because of that, I didn't put them on. But, I mean, I wouldn't be upset if they were on a Survivor cast. I considered Krista. Krista was actually very close to making it on. I actually wouldn't be upset if she made it on over someone else that we'll be talking about. And I would like to see Krista play Survivor. I think seeing her play Sequester was a lot of fun. But I decided to leave her off just to take off a season connection, but in reality, she could have made the cut. And I also considered Brooke from Scott and Brooke, and I think she would have been a lot of fun, but again, kind of a train wreck, and there's another train wreck already on this cast, so I decided to leave her off. So let's get to the people that are on the cast. On the cast, I do have, for the guys, first up, I have Colin from Colin and Christie. And I mean, Colin's just great. I mean, obviously in his first season of The Amazing Race, he's one of the most iconic characters in the history of reality television. Now on 31, he has this massive arc where he's just such a radically different person. He's such a calm person, and like, while that might be boring to some people and like it might be boring on Survivor, I think it would be really fascinating to see how he adapts to a more strategic game like Survivor. I don't know how well it would work out. To be honest, I would probably lean towards it being more of a disaster. Realistically, he'll probably end up like an Eric from Edge of Extinction, like the sort of like leader figure through the pre-merge that gets taken out right away at the merge. But I don't know. I think Colin would be a fun, iconic character to have on Survivor. The other two Amazing Race guys for me were pretty big locks. I thought, first up, we have Justin from Justin and Diana. I think he was a lock. Again, he's someone that was such a big character on that season. I mean, he really dominated the airtime of The Amazing Race 27. And he's someone that is a fan of all these reality shows. He's someone that is a very strategic guy. I think he would be a lot of fun on Survivor. He easily made the cut for me. And the next player that we have was a lock, but it was tough to make him a lock because, okay, this is the thing. It's very clear that one of Tyler or Corey would be on a season like this. I think that's pretty obvious. It's just a matter of which one. I personally would rather see Corey. I think Corey is the bigger fan of reality TV. I mean, he was even in that Sequester mini game, and I think he's someone that's more likely to do very well on Survivor. However, I feel like CBS would want Tyler. Obviously, Tyler is a bigger name in terms of his online presence. I feel like that's how CBS would go. So while I personally would like Corey more, I did put Tyler on instead. But even then, I think Tyler would be a lot of fun as well. I think Tyler's someone that has the ability to think strategically. I think he's very good socially. I think he could pull off some pretty fun moves. So I think him being on isn't the worst thing in the world. So, I mean, he made my cut anyway. And now for the women, which the women were difficult. Full disclosure, I was actually worried at a point that I wouldn't be able to get a group of women together that actually fit as a cast. And to be honest, even now, I do feel like this Amazing Race cast is the weakest out of the three groups, and a lot of that has to do with the women not being nearly as strong. I mean, if we look at the Big Brother one, again, we have Janelle, Rachel, Davon. When we look at Survivor, it's Carolyn, Angelina, Nora. I mean, all of those people, really strong women, really fun characters, really dynamic women. I feel like the Amazing Race here, it's kind of tough. Let's go through the ones that I did put on the cast. First up, I had to have a member of Team Fun on here. I mean, they're both big reality TV people from what I understand. And while, again, I personally would probably like to see Floyd on Survivor more so, there just was the spot for Becca. I mean, there was no other male spot really, so I had to put Becca on. And not that I'm upset that Becca's fine. And I think she's obviously a very strong, athletic female, which is something that this Amazing Race tribe kind of needs. So I think she kind of made it for that. But also in turn, like, she's a very good character. She's really fun. I think it would be fascinating to see her play Survivor. So, I mean, she made my cut. I also ended up putting on Haley. And for me, it was between Haley and Brooke. As I said, I cut Brooke because of her connection. Again, they were on the same season as Becca. So I decided to just put Haley on, who's very much isolated within this cast. I think also another reason why I put Haley on was because I couldn't put Brittany on from Big Brother. So because that just left the spot open for Haley. So why not? I think she's a great character. I don't know how well she would do on Survivor. I think she's pretty poised to be like the first boot out of this entire cast, but whatever, it would be fun. And then the last person was tough. I decided to go with who I feel like production would be interested in bringing back. While like I probably personally would rather see like Krista on there, and I still think Krista is a possibility. I did end up going with someone a bit random in terms of Amazing Race standards, but it just feels like a person that Survivor production, I should say, would actually ask to play Survivor, and that is Maria Ho from The Amazing Race 15, who, again, is kind of just random at this point in Amazing Race history. I mean, so much time has passed since her original season. And obviously she's more well known outside of The Amazing Race. She's a massive poker player. But for me, I think that's the reason why I put her on the cast, because I feel like production would want to have this massive poker player on their Survivor season. I think they like having these sort of people that are like famous for things outside of Survivor, but not necessarily like too famous for the show. And I feel like Maria Ho kind of fits within that. So because of that, I put her on my cast. But again, if you want to put like Krista on here instead of Maria, I would be completely fine with that. I just feel like Maria just feels like someone that production would at least ask. So because of that, she made my cut. So there we go. That is my cast for Survivor Reality Showdown. Now, this might not be the ideal cast for most people, but I think this is a really fun cast. Again, like, I intentionally dumbed down the Survivor cast because I didn't want it to be too strong. I think the Big Brother group is extremely strong, and then you have the Amazing Race one, which is kind of just all over the place. But let's run through my cast. From the Survivor Tribe, I have Rupert Boneham, I have Ozzy Luce, I have Rick Devens, I have Carolyn Rivera, I have Angelina Keeley, and I have Nora Salmon. On the Big Brother Tribe, I have Dan Giesling, I have Derek Levasseur, I have Tyler Crispin, I have Janelle Pierzina, I have Rachel Riley, and I have Davon Rogers. And then from the Amazing Race Tribe, I have Colin from Colin and Christy, I have Justin from Justin and Diana, I have Tyler from Tyler and Corey, I have Maria from Maria and Tiffany, I have Haley from Haley and Blair, and I have Becca from Team Fun. So that's my cast for Reality Showdown. Again, I thought this was pretty fun. I mean, so now I've done one for The Amazing Race and Survivor, so why not do a Big Brother one down the road? To be honest, I don't know how different it would be. I actually think it would be interesting to at least look at it, because obviously I feel like the archetypes that Big Brother looks for is completely different to the archetypes that Survivor would look for. Again, like someone like Maria Ho would not be on Big Brother. But for like Survivor, I feel like she's a pretty perfect fit. Same thing goes for like a Colin. I can't see Colin being on Big Brother. I can't see Carolyn being on Big Brother, or some of these other people. So, I mean, I think it would be interesting to actually do a Big Brother list. So maybe I will get around to doing that down the road. But for now, that is the video. Thank you for watching.